The European Investment Bank has confirmed its commitment to supporting climate action and increasing the impact of climate-related investment, not just in Europe, but in Africa as well. Its Vice President, Jonathan Taylor, confirmed that ever since COP21 was convened in Paris, the EIB has strengthened the impact of climate-related investment right across its entire portfolio. Now, that includes long-term investments in new sustainable transport, renewable energy and energy efficiency schemes too. The bank also supports investments to adapt crucial infrastructure to changing climate across Europe and around the world. Now, financing obviously is a major issue in climate change and environmental conservation. All of these things have to be paid for and money isn't coming in for free. So the issue of how to get the private sector on board when implementing the Paris Agreement is high on the agenda at COP22. The European Investment Bank has pledged to create a fund to help fight global warming. Peninah Karibe sat down with the Vice President of the EIB to talk about how that institution is actually dealing with climate change investments.
We have a target that, in fact, is a floor, a minimum amount of 25% of our lending every year needs to be for significant climate action, and that means adaptation and mitigation. And for the business which we're doing outside Europe, we have a target, we have a minimum of 25% and we have a target which we aim to get to of 35%. Now, just to put those percentages in context, our overall lending each year is between 80 and 90 billion euros. So you could say at current exchange rates somewhere close to $100 billion. So 25% of that is a very large number. That's a number which we met last year. It's a number which we've met in fact over the last 5 years, and it's a number which I would expect we will meet again this year and in the future. And as I say, we're trying to push up the amount of lending which we're doing outside Europe in relation to climate action. So that would include lending here in Africa as much as in other parts of the world.
All right, so talk about your plans to invest in green financing here in Africa.
Yeah, we do project finance. We do things on a project-by-project basis. So, what we are doing is we are looking for good projects which we can lend money to. Good projects not only in terms of their so-called bankability, which any bank would be wanting to look at, but also in terms of whether they provide real, genuine economic value added, whether they are socially beneficial, whether they are environmentally beneficial. So to just take a couple of illustrations of large projects which we've supported in Africa, we have the enormous Lake Turkana wind farm, which we have been very happy to be part of the support for. And here in Morocco, we are supporting the Ouarzazate solar farm. So these are two very big plants which we're doing. But we also support much smaller projects, including microfinance projects in many countries. And we will be aiming to do more of this in the period ahead, because I think that we're at the stage now where Paris in COP21 was a great moment in terms of reaching an agreement. We've made further progress, better progress I think than anybody expected in terms of ratification. But that's doing the stuff at the high level, and what we need to do now is to turn these global promises into local action, and that's what we are aiming to do by providing financing, by providing co-financing, by leveraging in private sector finance.
What are your thoughts on how we can solve the challenges around financing? Because when we talk about climate, the climate efforts, one of the key challenges emerging is financing. How can we solve that?
We definitely can't solve it by just relying on public money. And that is why it's important to look at ways in which we can leverage and blend public money with private money. That's the sort of thing that institutions like mine, but also other MDBs, are about. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find ways of co-financing so that we act as a catalyst to bring in private money to deal with both with the major infrastructure projects, but also with the smaller projects which people can do. I think one of the positive things is that in the private sector now there is a visibly increased appetite for this sort of lending. People want to lend money to green projects, to projects which are beneficial for the environment, and that's partly because they think it is a good thing to support these projects, but it's also because they see this as a good business proposition. There isn't, I think, any more a contradiction between green finance and good, sound economic business finance, and so that's something which people are working towards. We can, as an institution, we can develop products, develop different financial techniques which help to blend in this money, and that's what we're trying to do.